The first time drivers saw the halo, they wanted it banned. The first time it was truly tested, they wanted it back.
I think as soon as I have that thing on my car, I don't like it, and I'm not even sitting in the car.
What happened between those two moments is one of the most terrifying and miraculous stories in Formula One history. When the FIA first revealed the halo, it was met with almost universal disgust. Drivers shrugged it off as unnecessary, fans called it a cage, commentators mocked how it looked. And in a way they weren't wrong. Formula One wasn't built on comfort or safety, it was built on danger. The kind of danger that made every victory feel earned and every mistake unforgettable. So when this strange loop of titanium appeared above the cockpit, people didn't see it as protection. They saw it as weakness, a surrender, a symbol that F1 was losing the very thing that made it F1. But the truth is, F1's obsession with danger had already crossed a line. The warning signs weren't subtle. They were violent, sudden, and impossible to ignore.
That's what you get when you don't leave the space.
The first came in 2009, not in Formula One but in Formula 2, an ordinary race day at Brands Hatch, right up until the moment everything went silent. A stray tyre bouncing across the circuit, a split second, a direct hit to the head of 18-year-old Henry Surtees. He never stood a chance. In an instant, the sport was forced to confront a truth it had been avoiding for decades. No matter how fast the cars evolved, the human body didn't. 6 days later, Formula One itself came terrifyingly close to repeating the same nightmare. During qualifying in Hungary, Felipe Massa followed closely behind Rubens Barrichello. Nothing unusual, nothing dangerous, until a piece of Barrichello's suspension broke loose. A steel spring, no bigger than a fist, shot backward at over 155 miles per hour. It struck Massa directly in the helmet. The impact cracked his visor, shattered bone, and knocked him unconscious instantly. His car plowed straight ahead, full throttle, into the barriers. This time the medics reached him in time. This time the driver survived. But it didn't feel like a miracle. It felt like a warning that even a fragment of metal was enough to end a career or a life.
He went hurtling into the path of the errant spring and into the tyre wall.
But the most devastating reminder came in 2014. Suzuka, torrential rain, visibility measured in meters, not corners. Even the veterans were struggling to keep their cars on the asphalt. But the race continued, and then in a decision that haunts the sport to this day, a recovery tractor was allowed onto the circuit while cars were still flying past at racing speed. Jules Bianchi hit standing water, lost control, and slid helplessly into the path of the crane. The impact measured an unimaginable 254 Gs.
Oh my God!
He was placed into an induced coma, and 9 months later, the paddock received news no one was ready for.
It was tricky. When the rain picked up on used tires, it was always going to be very, very difficult. And I think from what we know, it was a very unlucky timing and an unlucky position to lose the car, which led into the accident. So our thoughts are with him. I think all the drivers can feel what happened, because we know how tricky it was today. So we hope for very, very good news about Jules very soon.
Jules was gone, and with him any remaining illusion that F1 could keep gambling with exposed cockpits. The sport had run out of warnings. In the years that followed, the FIA quietly accelerated a project they had been testing behind closed doors, a device strong enough to withstand the impossible. Teams were skeptical, drivers were hostile, fans were furious. Nobody wanted a cage sitting on top of the most beautiful cars in motorsport.
And when you look at the car, if it's ugly, Formula One cars aren't ugly. They're not meant to be ugly. There's a reason that a Ferrari is more exciting than a Mazda. It's something passion, and if it looks shit, it is shit.
But step by step, the evidence became undeniable. After wind tunnel tests, impact tests, and brutal crash simulations, one design emerged: a curved loop of titanium capable of holding more than 12 tons of force, the Halo. And in 2018, whether the paddock liked it or not, the FIA made their decision, mandatory. across Formula One, and every junior category beneath it. Drivers complained, fans protested.
Our safety, this is more important than anything. Even if you change, it's not open car, it's a closed car, but I mean the competition and everything will be the same. So I'm really not against it.
Commentators called it the death of racing. They had no idea how wrong they were. It didn't take long for the halo to earn its place. Just months after its introduction, Formula 2 arrived in Spain, and the world got its first look at what this strange piece of metal could really do. On lap 4, Tadasuke Makino and Nirei Fukuzumi tangled wheels at high speed. Fukuzumi's car was launched skyward, twisting, spinning, and then crashing back down directly toward Makino's cockpit. For a split second, it looked like the wheel was heading straight for his head. Instead, it slammed into the halo, hard. The titanium bent, scraped, and absorbed the force, and Makino walked away. He later admitted the truth everyone already knew. Without the halo, he wouldn't have survived that impact. But the real test came just a few months later, at one of the fastest, most unforgiving circuits in the world, Spa-Francorchamps. The lights went out, and chaos followed almost instantly. Nico Hülkenberg misjudged his braking point and slammed into the back of Fernando Alonso. Alonso's McLaren was launched into the air like a missile, flipping over Charles Leclerc's Sauber and crashing back to earth with a sickening thud. In the slow-motion replay, you can see it. Alonso's car rips across the top of Leclerc's cockpit, scraping directly over the halo with a force of more than 13,000 pounds. 13,000 pounds! Without the halo, that force would have gone straight into Leclerc's helmet. Instead, he stepped out of the car unharmed. And for the first time, even the most vocal critics of the halo fell silent. By now, the halo had already silenced most doubters. But in 2019 at Monza, it delivered one of the most surreal images motorsport has ever seen. The Temple of Speed, a circuit where danger is part of the architecture. Late in the F3 race, Alex Peroni clipped one of the now infamous sausage curbs on the runoff at Parabolica. His car didn't spin, it didn't slide, it took off. The car launched into the air, spiraled meters above the track, smashed into the fencing, and landed upside down, directly where Peroni's head should have been exposed. Instead, the halo took the impact.
We now can show you what happened to Alex Peroni. Oh my goodness me. That is a horrific sight. Very serious crash for Alexander Peroni into the fence.
And moments later, in a scene that felt impossible after a crash like that, Peroni crawled out of the wreckage on his own 2 feet. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared the world for what happened next. Bahrain, 2020. A race that began like any other, until in the blink of an eye, the world froze. Romain Grosjean made slight contact with Daniil Kvyat on the exit of turn 3. His Haas snapped right, spearing into a steel barrier at 120 miles per hour. The impact measured 67 Gs, enough to tear the car in half. The front half, the part with Grosjean inside it, disappeared into a fireball so violent that even the commentators went silent. Flames towered above the track. Debris rained across the asphalt. And for 27 agonizing seconds, there was no sign of the driver. When Grosjean finally emerged, crawling through the flames like a figure from a nightmare, the world was speechless. Burned, shaken, but alive.
Bottas has lost 4 places already as they file their way through, and Lance Stroll going off the track already, and is that damage for Lando Norris? That's certainly damage, and a big fire there as they exited out of turn 3, and that looks very nasty indeed, and unsurprisingly, that is a red flag.
And as investigators pieced together what happened, one truth became impossible to ignore. The halo had forced the barrier apart just enough for Grosjean's head to survive the impact. Without it, that crash would not have been survivable. Every driver knew it. Every critic knew it. In that moment, the halo was no longer a debate. It was a revelation. A year later, the halo found itself in the middle of one of the fiercest title fights in modern F1 history. Hamilton versus Verstappen. A rivalry boiling over, every corner a battlefield. At Monza, their tension finally exploded. Hamilton exited the pits, Verstappen charged down the main straight, and neither was willing to lift. Verstappen hit the inside curb, launching the Red Bull into the air. In slow motion, the car rotates, rises, and comes down directly on top of Hamilton's Mercedes. The right rear wheel lands exactly where Hamilton's helmet was moments earlier, and the halo, once mocked, once hated, takes the full weight of the Red Bull. The scratch marks across Hamilton's visor said everything. Without the halo, this rivalry would have ended in tragedy. But the halo wasn't done proving itself. Silverstone, 2022, a weekend that delivered not one, but two terrifying reminders of why the device existed. The first came in Formula 2. Roy Nissany squeezed Dennis Hauger off the circuit, forcing him over a sausage curb. Hauger's car launched into the air like a missile and came down directly toward Nissany's cockpit. The halo absorbed the impact. Again, commentators didn't need to say a word. Everyone watching knew what had just been avoided.
Oh, no contact, Dennis Hauger is off. Dennis Hauger is off and into the path of another car. Big accident there. Dennis Hauger off into the gravel.
But the second crash was somehow even worse. At the start of the Formula 1 race, Zhou Guanyu was clipped, flipped, and sent sliding upside down at horrifying speed. His Alfa Romeo dug under the tyre barrier and became wedged between the fence and the catch fencing, trapping him in a cage of twisted metal with no room to escape. The images were chilling. The silence was worse, but when marshals finally reached him, they found something unbelievable. Zhou was alive. The halo had kept his head from grinding against the asphalt at over 150 miles per hour and had prevented the collapsing roll hoop from crushing the cockpit. Without the halo, that crash would have been fatal, twice in the same weekend, in the same.
But I was thinking, shit, that's a huge crash. You watch a million videos, but that was quite a shocking 3 seconds that just all happened in front of my eyes. I know how claustrophobic it is inside a race car, and seeing him being trapped in that car, that's kind of like a driver's worst fear.
Looking back now, it's hard to believe the halo was ever controversial. Drivers mocked it, fans cursed it, teams resisted it. And yet when it mattered most, this simple loop of titanium did the one thing no one else could. It refused to let history repeat itself. From flying cars to collapsing roll hoops, from fireballs to freak impacts, the halo has taken forces no human body could ever survive. And every time, it has held. It didn't just save lives, it changed the future of the sport. Because safety isn't the enemy of Formula 1. It's the reason the greatest stories can continue, and if history has taught us anything, it's that Formula 1's next life or death moment is never far away. If you liked this video, subscribe, like, and leave a comment, and stay watching for more great racing stories that are more than speed.